Good afternoon, honorable educators and fellow debaters. My name is Sahuleka, and I'm from SMAN JAKARTA, and today I'll be representing the first speaker of the opposition team under the motion, "This House regrets merger and acquisition with tech industry." Now, first of all, I would like to give the team split. So the first speaker, me, I'll be giving two arguments regarding how these platforms could make it much more accessible towards the customers, business, and sellers. And for my second argument would be about the less chance of bankruptcy, bigger chance of expand of the platform itself, and have bigger profits for the platforms too. And I would also be giving two rebuttals towards the government team. And for my second speaker, she will be giving a few rebuttals, a few arguments. And for my third speaker, she will be giving more clash points throughout this debate. So moving on to my rebuttals. So first of all, the first speaker of the government team has stated that these mergers and acquisitions could invade the privacies of the customers because it could sell data and could also limit the customer to practice privacy. Well, we acknowledge that, and the opposition team would like to say that there are community guidelines where people would have the notification and have the notification of where they should agree with their policies before using those platforms, before using Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, and basically every platform that they have. And there are also age restrictions, and most importantly, that this is actually the customer's choice to whether or not use those merger applications and acquisitions for their own use. So there were never the platforms that are forcing the customers to use those platforms, but it comes from the customer itself whether or not she or he wants to use these kind of platforms. So moving on to my second riddle is that how these merger and acquisitions could eliminate those platforms itself and have power imbalance, and that there are dominant and weaker platforms. Well, we see the opposition team sees that this as a room for competition, a room to learn, and a room to improve, because by this these mergers and acquisitions could learn from each other. These platforms, could learn from each other and either way could compete with the other platforms, and this would be a room to improve and to adapt towards the status quo that we have right now. And this could also prevent from failing and have a less chance of bankruptcy itself, that I would also be stating in my second argument. And moving on to my context, so why is this merging and acquisition is very important for us to consider. Well, as the opposition team, we see this that as nowadays people want an instant way to communicate, to buy products, to have a cheaper but a higher quality of products, and maybe to do activities, and we see this as a status quo. Now, I would also like to give an example. Before Gojek and Tokopedia, or we could say Goto, people would order from Tokopedia, and that the Tokopedia customers would be sent the products to their homes. But with these Goto merging, these could open opportunities from Gojek, Tokopedia, and for the customers. For Gojek, this could also promote Gojek towards Tokopedia customers to also use the Gojek platform. And for Tokopedia, it also implies the same, where the Tokopedia customers could also use the Gojek platforms, and this could expand their platforms online. And for the customers itself, this could also create promotions, like for example promotions of Gojek, so they could have a much more cheaper affordable price for the transportation to come here. And this could also be an advantage because it is much more accessible towards the customers to use these platforms. And that could also lead to my first argument. It is about that are much more accessible and to promote access towards these customers to use these platforms, because as we could see, people now are eager to communicate to buy something much more cheaper but a high quality product. And with these applications merging, this could also be a solution. For example, I've been searching for a few things. Actually, I've been using online shops to search for merchandises from Formula One, and that I could also compare from one online shop and another, and I could see that there could be a much more affordable price but a much more high quality product. With these platforms merging, Facebook and Instagram, I could look to both of them and I could make a much more easier comparison, because this is much more accessible than if it is really separated. And with these customers having the accessible platforms for them to search for what they need, this could also increase for the business and selling, because these business and the sellers could also have easily promote their products towards Instagram, Facebook, and they could have a much more bigger audience, a bigger stand, because by then these Instagram users and Facebook users could both use and see those products, and these promotions could also increase the profit of the business itself, because by then people could buy, and maybe could buy a much more could buy with a much more accessible platform, and the business and seller would not have a big problem of promoting these their products itself. And this also leads to my second argument about the least chance of bankruptcy and bigger chance to expand and to have profit from the platforms, because as we could see, if business comes towards the platform, maybe communication with other people and these customers using these platforms, this could also make a bigger audience and a bigger line of users that are using these platforms, and this could have a bigger chance to expand to inside the online world, and this could also result towards a profit towards the platforms. So instead of bankruptcy and having to have dominant platforms, this could actually be a chance, an opportunity for those platforms to actually improve. And as we could see that with these much more accessible platforms, and there are a bigger chance, a bigger profit towards these platforms rather than bankruptcy and maybe much more smaller platforms, we see that this house should not forget those merger and acquisitions with tech industry, because we could see that today at the status quo, people really need these platforms. So this is much more accessible and much more advantageous towards the platforms itself. So that is why, ladies and gentlemen, the opposition team would proudly oppose the motion. Thank you.